This model is of a Scania R730 truck and trailer, and it's in the colours of Transtolk, which is a Dutch haulage company. The real truck and this model of it are specially decorated to celebrate over 50 years of service by the Transtolk company and its forerunners. It comes in a standard WSI branded box and it is factory sealed, and there's no information provided with the model. Inside the box there are just the two parts. There's the 3-axle trailer, and that's followed out by the 3-axle Scania truck. There's only one other piece of packaging to remove, and that's some cling film on the drawbar, and that prevents the pin from coming out. The Scania chassis is very detailed, with the transmission, exhaust and tanks all modelled, and there's a non-functioning loading ramp at the rear. The tyres are good and they're mounted on nicely decorated and detailed wheels. The Scania top-line cab is really good because it's got excellent lights and details on top, and the distinctive grille is modelled really well too. A particular plus is the high quality and detailed graphics. Underneath the box there is a convincing looking fuel tank, but what sets the model apart is the high quality decoration. The truck celebrates 50 years in business, and there are pictures of many of the old trucks that were used. At the back there's a laughing man, and it'd probably be scary to follow this truck on a dark night. The trailer also achieves a high standard with a loading ramp at the rear, and the axles are very detailed too. The drawbar has got coiled air lines, and the front face is plain but for a fleet number. Again, it's the decoration of the trailer which makes it interesting, with more photos of old trucks. And on the opposite side it finishes up with some newer ones. At the back is a picture of another old-timer, but the standout detail is the highlighted door bolts. Out into the Cranes etc. distribution depot, and the Scania tries to roll well, but the front wheel steering's a bit loose, so it's prone to go in its own direction. Using the one-handed truck tilt hoist, we can see that the rear axles are free spinning, and the rear axle is mounted on springs so it passes for suspension. At the front the steering is a little loose, but at least it has a good range of movement, and that does mean that it can adopt much more interesting poses. It'll also steer around a bend if you keep one hand firmly on the wheel. One other feature to note is that the rear axle is a lift axle, so if you're travelling light and you want to save tyre wear, you can push the axle down and clip it into place. And it works well on the model because when you push it along with the axle raised, the rear wheel doesn't turn. The other feature that's nicely engineered on the Scania is the tilting cab. It goes forward about 45 degrees and can stay tilted, and that lets you see the engine, which is nicely detailed with different coloured components. Moving along to the trailer, and it's a relatively heavy model because just like the truck, the box is made of metal. And underneath the axles are all free rolling, and they're nicely engineered because they all have working sprung suspension. Another feature of the trailer is that it also has lift axles, with both axles 1 and 2 being able to be clipped out of service. At the rear you can lower the two legs which help the trailer stand when it's not attached to a truck, and they're nicely modelled with smooth pistons and they work well. At the front of the trailer the drawbar has some adjustment. There's a small steel pin, and if you take that out you can then pull out the drawbar extension. Well, pulling it out like that is a fat lot of use, but if you position it correctly then in service there are 4 holes, giving therefore 4 different lengths. Once the drawbar is pinned back into position, then we can attach the trailer and the truck. Although the towing hitch is hard to get to, it's not a problem because it's a push-fit connection. And fortunately it's easy to do unless you're under the influence of too much drink. There's no place to connect the airlines, so the best thing to do is just tuck them under to make it neat, and then we're ready to roll. Looking at the trailer lift axles, axle 1 raises high enough, but the wheels on axle 2 still touch the ground. In summary, this is a very impressive truck model by WSI. The detailing and features are very good, but it's the graphics on the side of the truck and trailer which provide added interest, and overall that makes it an outstanding model.